wind cut across the parking lot like a quiet warning, and he felt it before he saw her. The trembling in the air, the kind that comes when a stranger is standing at the edge of something breaking. His hands were still dirty from unloading crates at the warehouse, his back aching the way it always did by late afternoon, when he noticed the woman in the green dress clutching her chest as if her heart might fall out if she let go. She looked lost, not in the way tourists are lost, but in the way people are when life has cornered them. In that moment, before he even knew her name or why she was crying, a thought pierced him with uncomfortable force. What if this were you standing here with nothing left but hope, and the next person you asked for help decided to look away? Michael Turner had learned long ago that looking away was easy and living with yourself afterward was not. Being a single father in a small town in the United States had taught him that kindness was sometimes the only currency left when money ran out. Since his wife's sudden death 3 years earlier, life had shrunk to survival mode. Early mornings, late nights, in the constant balancing act of keeping food on the table, while raising his young son, Noah. The world had become a series of closed doors, from job interviews that ended with polite smiles to court notices he didn't fully understand, warning him that one missed payment could cost him everything. Still, he had promised himself that no matter how hard things became, he would never let his son grow up believing that the world was cold by default. The woman's eyes were red, her breath uneven, and though Michael said nothing at first, his presence alone seemed to steady her. She explained her situation in fragments, her story spilling out like something she had held in too long. She was alone, overwhelmed, facing a decision that felt too heavy to carry by herself. Michael listened the way people rarely do anymore, without checking his phone or glancing around for an exit. As he stood there, he felt the familiar tug of fear in his chest, the fear that helping someone else might cost him time, money, or energy he didn't have. And yet another question rose quietly inside him, one that felt impossible to ignore. If you don't help now, who will you become tomorrow? He offered what he could. It wasn't much: directions, reassurance, a small kindness wrapped in patience. But to her it seemed to matter. Her shoulders relaxed, her breathing slowed, and something like gratitude flickered across her face. She thanked him, wiping her tears with the back of her hand, and for a brief moment, their lives brushed against each other before drifting apart again. Michael watched her walk away, never imagining that this simple act would follow him into the most terrifying chapter of his life. Weeks later, the courtroom felt colder than the parking lot ever had. Michael sat alone on the hard wooden bench, his hands folded tightly as if that might keep them from shaking. Noah was at school, unaware that his father's future was being decided a few rooms away. The case against Michael wasn't dramatic, just devastating in its quiet simplicity. Missed payments, a bureaucratic error, a system that didn't bend easily for grieving men trying to do their best. Losing meant losing everything he had left to give his son. As he waited, he wondered how many people had sat in this same spot, asking themselves how life had slipped so far out of their control. When the judge entered, Michael forced himself to look up. The woman who took her seat behind the bench was composed, professional, and impossibly familiar. It took a few seconds for recognition to hit him, and when it did, his chest tightened. It was her. The woman from the parking lot. Her hair was pulled back now, her expression calm and unreadable, the weight of authority resting easily on her shoulders. This was not the frightened stranger he had comforted. This was Judge Rebecca Collins, and she held his life in her hands. The proceedings unfolded with careful formality, but Michael barely heard them. His mind raced, replaying every moment of that day they met, searching for meaning in coincidence. Rebecca listened intently, her eyes occasionally flicking toward him in a way that made his heart pound. She did not smile or offer any sign of recognition, and that silence felt heavier than any judgment. Michael stood when instructed, his voice steady despite the fear clawing at his throat, and explained his circumstances with honesty stripped bare by desperation. As the courtroom grew quiet, Rebecca leaned back slightly, her expression softening almost imperceptibly. She spoke of responsibility, of the law, and of the importance of accountability, but she also spoke of context, of humanity, and of the quiet battles people fight outside these walls. Her words carried weight, not just because of her position, but because they were shaped by understanding. Michael realized then that kindness rarely disappears. It travels, it waits, and sometimes it returns when you need it most. The ruling did not erase Michael's struggles, but it gave him something even more powerful: time. Time to fix what had gone wrong, time to keep his home, time to keep being Noah's father. As he left the courtroom, his legs felt weak, his vision blurred by tears he no longer tried to hide. Rebecca caught his eye for just a second as he passed, and though she said nothing, there was a shared acknowledgement there, a silent reminder that compassion can ripple outward in ways we never expect. Life did not suddenly become easy after that day. Michael still worked long hours, still worried about bills, still carried grief in quiet moments. But something inside him had shifted. He stood a little straighter, believed a little more fiercely in the power of small human choices. He told Noah not about the judge or the courtroom, but about the importance of helping others even when you're scared, because you never know whose life you might be changing, or who might change yours. Sometimes late at night, Michael would think back to that parking lot and wonder how close he had come to walking past a woman in need. The thought unsettled him, not with fear, but with gratitude. Kindness had not saved him completely, but it had opened a door where there had been only walls. And in a world that often feels unforgiving, that was more than enough. Before this story ends, take a quiet moment and tell us in the comments what you would have done in Michael's place, and whether you believe small acts of kindness truly come back to us. If this story touched your heart, reminded you of someone you've helped, or someone who once helped you, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, only if it truly moved you. So more stories of kindness, second chances, and quiet hope can reach the people who need them most.